Welcome, everybody, to another Wine and Comics pairing show. I'm Dave.
And I am Dallas, as always.
Yes, and today we have a very special guest star, Richard Fairgray. He is one of the most prolific comic artist writers, one-man shows, really, although not always. Sometimes he works with other artists, but he can do it all, and he often does it all. And he has done more comics than I could keep track of, but I discovered him when he did his memoir Octopus on Kickstarter. And then he additionally did a comic called Haunted Hill, which is this very blackly comedic, surreal, David Lynchian take on living in LA, which me and Dallas both really appreciated because we both live in LA. Dallas is currently on the East Coast, has been for a little while now, but he is still predominantly based in LA. One of these days, Dallas, come back, god damn it. But today we are going to talk about his latest comic, the first issue of the Ex-Wives of Frankenstein. So stay tuned. We'll bring him on right after this. So everyone, welcome Richard Fairgray to the Wine and Comics Pairing Show. We are going to talk today about his Ex-Wives of Frankenstein Kickstarter, but also we're going to talk a lot about Richard's previous work.
It's too hot.
So, there it goes.
What's the shirt? First, what's the shirt? Give us a shirt.
It's the Eels.
Oh,
Eels. Nice.
It was an okay concert. It was a weird concert. I have this friend who is technically my friend's grandson, and I really like him. He's like a weird genius writer, comedian, musician. But because he's my friend's grandson, there's always a slight discomfort where he treats every time we hang out, everything's normal until the point where, because if his grandpa's friend or his parents' friend took him out when he was a kid, they would buy him McDonald's. So every time we hang out, there's a point where he just sort of expects me to buy him McDonald's.
Wow. How old is this kid?
He's 26.
Oh, so not a kid. Oh, okay.
No. It's just like there's that little thing in the back of his mind where he's like, oh yeah, Pop introduced me to this man. And like
connection.
When you meet a man through silverdaddies.com in the chat and you are like having the filthiest webcam sex of your life for multiple years, and then you become like real life friends with him, and then you stay with him and you write a kid's book with him, and then the sex part kind of fades from your relationship, and then he says, my grandson is moving to LA. Can you be his friend? Look out for him a little bit. Please don't ever tell him anything about me.
This is the plot to a comic book, correct?
And then you forget, and like you start telling a story, and every time Victor looks at you and like, is this about my grandpa? Like, fuck, it is. It is actually. I'm sorry. Yes.
Oops.
Oh.
Yeah. Poor guy.
Well, he's gotta learn about life one of these days. He is 26 after all.
It does feel really disconnected. I want to be clear. I took him to see the Eels concert that I'm wearing the t-shirt for. Otherwise, that's a story out of nowhere.
I think you mentioned that this was someone you wrote a kid's book with. This is not the person, because you have your memoir Octopus, and you mention
yes, this is Masturbation Jim, who lives in the haunted post office. Yes.
Boom. Okay, I had a feeling.
Yep.
So
Masturbation Jim
in its way.
Lovely man. I miss him every day.
I hope there's a t-shirt.
It's crusty.
I would. You're my kind of Beetle, Richard. and approve.
Oh, what kind of questions would you like to ask me? You want to know about my kids' books?
Yes, very much actually. So the kids' books are probably the part that I have no experience in, or any, like, I haven't read them. I've only heard that you did a lot of kids' books. So how did you fall into doing kids' books is maybe question number one. And how many have you made?
Well, how many have I made versus how many have I published is an insane difference.
Oh, this is true. Yeah.
But basically, got invited to like my friend had a kid and was like, it's my kid's 3rd birthday. Do you want to come and drink while like other parents are there? I'm like, I don't, but I will. Fine. So I go to the bookstore to try and buy a copy of Where the Wild Things Are. Mm-hmm. And they don't have any copies of it. And all of the picture books are like wrapped in plastic like Laura Palmer and all come with like a toy. And I got really angry because like my favorite thing as a kid was sitting on the floor of a bookstore and just like going through the books and figuring out which one I wanted the most, right?
Same.
So I went home. I didn't go to the party. I sent my apologies and explained that I couldn't get the right gift, so I was just not going to bother going. And I went home and I wrote a picture book and I drew it. And my wife at the time, long backstory, colored it. And within 4 days,
we'll circle back.
Okay, go on.
Within 4 days, I had sent a picture book off to be printed, and I ordered 10,000 copies because I was like, "Fuck it, let's see what happens." About a week later, I was kind of panicking, and then my friend says, "Hey, can you go drop off a copy of my book at this address?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" I had a pile of copies of his book because I was doing some convention stuff for him. And he didn't tell me what the place was. So I was like, "Hi, I'm here to drop this off for Bill." And they're like, "What? Who are you?" I was like, "I don't know. Bill sent me." And they're like, "We don't know who you are, but what is this?" I was like, "Oh, it's a comic book by this, whatever." And they're like, "Oh, okay, right. It's a sample thing." Turns out this is a book distributor that he has looked up. And I'm like, "Oh, you distribute books? I actually write books." And they're like what? I was like, "Oh, I just wrote a children's book." They're like, "Oh, we love children's books." And I show them on my phone, like a few pages of it, explain the basic premise. And they were like, "Oh, yeah, okay, we'll send us through the PDF and we'll send you a sales order." Sales order comes through for 9,000 copies.
You're kidding.
And I'm like, well, this worked out really fucking well.
No shit.
So when you make comics and you can sell, like, if you're really lucky, you'll have a book that will sell, and initially will sell a few thousand copies. Right. And if you get really lucky, you'll get a book that you can keep reprinting forever and will get to, into the tens of thousands of copies, but it's rare. And so to do a children's book that took 4 days from inception to printing and to have like 9,000 copies ordered from the jump, I was like, I'm just going to do this for a little bit, actually. Yeah. So I made 2 sequels. The first one was called Morgan, the Moreporks and the Moon. Moreporks are a New Zealand owl. And, I was living in New Zealand at the time, so I sort of included them. And it's about a little boy who wants to know the name of everything he sees, but the moon is too far away to hear him when he yells out, "Hey, moon, what's your name?" Because no one should be called Moon, obviously. So he then climbs a tree and gets some owls to fly him there to ask in person. So I did another one called Morgan Goes to Nowhere, where Morgan loses his favorite toy, a stuffed rabbit. He looks everywhere but can't find him anywhere, so it works out he must be nowhere. So he digs a hole to nowhere and finds this land where like everything's made up of like lost socks and the sky is full of songs that you kind of remember. And the rivers are made of dice from board games that have lost their pieces. And everything he meets along the way is a toy that he's kind of forgotten about. And so he gathers this kind of group of toys following him. And so at the end of it, he sees Rabbit sitting on a big pile of laundry. And it cuts back to the real world, and Rabbit is sitting on a pile of laundry in his bedroom, which, if you look at page 1, is literally just out of shot. Like, this kid sucks at looking for stuff. And it turns out Rabbit was somewhere after all. And it blew up even bigger because parents loved it because it encouraged their kids to go nowhere and pretend they were having an adventure and find their old toys and start playing with them again.
Yeah.
And then I did a follow-up called Morgan Goes to Sleep, which
and kind of weirdly stay organized. Like, find your damn rabbit, kid.
Right. Yeah.
It's right across the room.
Like, it's literally like he's looking almost in the same direction as it on page 1.
Exactly.
But then I did one called Morgan Goes to Sleep, which was about, like, Morgan's wide awake and he can't go to sleep, so he goes looking for sleep. And he goes and collects all the things you need to sleep. Like, he counts enough sheep, he puts some snore sounds through a special machine, goes through a forest of yawning bears, and eventually finds a cave that he crawls through. And at the end of the cave is his pillow, and he puts his head on and falls asleep. And it didn't do nearly as well. I have no explanation. Like it did fine, but it was just like pretty lackluster. And then other stuff kind of took off while that was being released. And so technically Morgan never woke up.
Wow.
So
yeah. Now, did you make the follow-up book?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
My friend Theo always said I should do a book called Morgan Went Nowhere, where you show him in college or like hanging out at a college because he doesn't go, talking to his friends about how one time he went to the moon.
Yeah. Or he lives in a tent on Hollywood Boulevard.
I mean that is the follow-up to a kid's book, isn't it? It's like, hey kids, now your life goes nowhere. It's like, here's the sequel, here's the next step. You go to college, you spin your wheels, you look for work, you get into a dead-end job somewhere. Like, this is likely, it doesn't have to be your life, but it's likely gonna be your life.
Like, there's so many stories of people who peak in high school. Imagine if there was a lion in your backyard when you were 4. You cannot top that.
That's it. There's nothing else.
But so from there, I did a thing called Gorillas in Our Midst, where the premise is there are gorillas everywhere. You just haven't noticed them. And I like stories that are about like, let's make the world more magical. If you just tell kids something's possible, they'll be like, fine, it is cool. And then I did My Grandpa's a Dinosaur, which is all about how one kid notices that her grandpa's a dinosaur and no one believes her, even though he very clearly is. He's an ankylosaurus. I did That's Not the Monster We Ordered, which is about your neighbors getting a really cool monster and Amazon sending you kind of a shitty one. I did If I Had an Elephant, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's just a list of things you do if you had an elephant. And then Jim and I did this book called Open in Case of Emergency about a warthog and a rhinoceros, because I love Bebop and Rocksteady, who live next door to each other, and both of them get boxes that say open in case of emergency. And the warthog opens his every damn time something goes slightly wrong, and the box provides him with everything he needs. Meanwhile, the rhinoceros never considers anything an emergency, and so his life just gets worse and worse, and he never opens the box because what if he needs it someday? Aww. And then at the end of it, the warthog loses his box and he's panicked, and the rhinoceros is like, oh, you can open mine if it's an emergency, because often it's much easier to help someone else than yourself.
Nice, very nice.
And the publisher printed it with the text from the second to last page missing, so the entire point of the book was lost, which was awesome. There's a lot of really great reviews of it online about what a touching, sweet book it is, but the ending makes no sense. I want to track down every single person.
It's kind of missing. It's like they forgot to add an ending. It's like one of those reviews.
No text. It's weird. Right. And then I did a book called Sweet Penny and the Lion with my friend Alex, and it's about a little girl who's so well behaved that she gets eaten by a lion. Because I was sort of a little bit fed up with how many books there are about boys who are assholes who get eaten by animals. Yeah. And then they come back and they're still assholes, but everyone's just happy they're back. Mm-hmm. And the only story where a girl gets eaten is Red Riding Hood, and she comes back having learned a lesson. So this girl is so well behaved that the lion eats her, and then she has to off camera kick her way out of the lion and come back as a fully actualized character. And now she's cool and tough and rides a lion everywhere.
She had to learn how to not just be a good person.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah.
And so basically the publisher that I was with for most of these books, and the books were picked up by other publishers, but there was one publisher who just kind of kept coming back to me. And then they hired a new editor, and she reached out and she was like, hey, just so you know, you are our highest selling author. You can do whatever you want. What book do you want to make? Uh-oh. And I was like, this one. And she was like, absolutely. Here's a contract. Here's a big pile of money. We are going to do everything with this book.
Fantastic.
And then she suddenly disappears. I just get an email notification being like, emails to this person will no longer be received.
Yeah.
We no longer have a children's editor. They bring in someone new who seems kind of good, but she's like, look, it's going to be a struggle. Yeah. And I was like, why? What's going on? And she's like, look, it's just going to be a struggle. The book comes out early 2017 on the week leading up to the first Women's March. And I'm like, cool, we can do a lot of good promotion around this. It's about, a girl standing up for herself. The larger message is that kids should speak up, but obviously there's a tie-in here.
Right.
And we were working with Jill Sobiel to do a song, and I made an animated music video to go with the song that is literally 50,000 watercolor paintings. And it's like 47,000, but whatever. It's also like it would have been a disaster. It's a 7.5 minute long song. Like, no kid has that patience, but whatever. You learn. Suddenly, and like the publisher was like, we're going to do a tour. If you want to buy copies, you can. So I order 1,500 copies of this book to take on tour and do signings. And then the book comes out, and the publisher hasn't sent out any review copies. They haven't got it into any stores. They've done no push anywhere. And I was like,
it's like you were already publishing comics.
Right. And someone at the company said, Richard, you need to look into what else this publisher is putting out. Because it was then announced that they were shutting down their picture book line and selling off all the rights they had to another place.
Wow. And
so I look into it, and their main line is like hardcore conservative Republican books. Yeah. And they're like, a feminist book by a gay guy is not going to be pushed by this company. They're burying it on purpose. Sorry that the editors lied to you. They've since put out books, like they picked up Woody Allen's book when Amazon dumped it. They've put out a book called The Truth About Fauci, which has no nude pictures. So what the fuck is the point? They're a bad company doing bad things, and they own the rights to all my picture books except for the 3 Morgan ones.
That's too bad. Yeah, but yeah.
Do you still retain the rights to your characters though?
No, they have.
Not in something like a picture book, I don't think. Yeah,
I actually, with Sweet Penny, I own film and television, and there's been like some talks about doing a kind of Pippi Longstocking-esque type of thing where it's like set it after the book, where Sweet Penny already has the lion, and it's about like 2 new kids come to the school and they hear these rumors about this like tough girl who thinks that anything is possible. But I'm busy. I'm doing adult comics and other weird shit, and I have a TV show already, so there you go. Leave me alone.
And what's your TV show? This is not something that I stumbled across.
So my series Black Sand Beach has been picked up for TV, and it's like it's in that kind of nebulous phase where it's like things are happening and I don't know exactly what I'm allowed to say.
Right. It's not out. Like we can't watch it yet, right?
No, but it's according to the studio, it is in development. Yes. According to the public announcements, they have a fully funded 13 episode season. And
broad terms.
Yeah, like like the numbers are listed. Like I know they got the funding. I know how all of that shook out. I know what my involvement's going to be. I think it's sort of secret, but I've seen animation. Okay, good. So in theory,
so work is happening.
Work is happening, and I've read the pilot script. I've read the 2nd episode. It's very good. Like it actually, like just between the 3 of us, it's better than the comic just a little bit. Because
so am I supposed to edit that out?
No, leave it. Just triple the volume. The first book of Black Sand Beach, I didn't read the contract, and so I ended up. I thought I had to do a 64-page book. I thought I had 3 months. It turns out they wanted 3 64-page stories as one book, so I had 3 months to do 192 pages of like fully colored and lettered comics. And I hadn't started the script 6 days in, so it's a little uneven, to say the least. Well, what's weird is like now that would be slow for me. Like it was an amazing time because I just lived in my office the entire time and like didn't speak to people. But then now I look at it and I'm like, oh yeah, well that's like less than it's like 3 pages a day. And like, okay, I'm not doing digital coloring anymore most of the time, but even if I was, like, you can color 10 pages a day if you're not doing it that well. So, fun.
I mean, I mentioned he was prolific, folks, and he absolutely is.
This is my 14-book year, by the way.
Good God.
14
That's
book
incredible.
Year. Yeah. Was that the record?
Yeah, I mean, well, no, it's not the record. Like, it's the record in terms of page count because two issues, two of them are single issues, but the rest of it is all full graphic novels.
Right.
The shortest other one is 44 pages. But there's also a year where my buddy Theo and I were like, if DC can put out 52 books, why don't we put out 52 books? And so we did a thing called Richard and Theo's Funny Books, where on top of our regular output, which between the two of us was about 30 books that year, most of them single issues, to be clear.
Right.
But let's add 52 8-page mini comics.
Yes, why not?
And so we did that in 2015.
I mean, that's still very impressive, but thank God there were 8-page mini comics. Oh my God. I mean, at least you were doing, between the two of you, 30 books in a year. That was more than halfway there. So, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, the goal was, like, no, because it was the 30 books we were regularly doing, and then the 52 on top of that. Like, we weren't allowed to slow down our regular output for this stupid stuff.
God damn.
Yikes.
All right.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
Really, some of them are not.
You know what? That actually makes me feel better, though. Honestly, if you're all like, this was the best work I've ever done, I would have been like,
okay, all right,
come on.
There's little bits like I did this one called Wet Cement, and it's about a kid who's really excited because there's wet cement outside his house. So he writes his name in it, and then the next day his name is gone, but the cement is still wet, and throughout his life the cement never dries, and he gets more and more uncomfortable about it, but no one else notices that anything is wrong. And then when he goes away to college, his dad calls and says, like, hey, look, your mother and I are separating. Stuff was always bad between us, but we wanted to wait till you weren't there anymore. And he goes and helps his dad pack up his things and notices that the cement is finally dry. And I think, like, I'm going to adapt that into a longer story at some point, because I think it's good horror. Like, it's good, creepy, atmospheric horror, and I can do that really well. And as an 8-page mini, it's like not being served well.
I can see that. Yeah, for sure.
So going back just a touch to when we were talking about sort of your visa situation and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So you were in New Zealand, you make a shit ton of comics. You basically make a little mini empire of comics in New Zealand, but you were like, yeah, I've done it all here. I gotta move on. I gotta go somewhere else. You come over to the States. You come over to Los Angeles specifically at first. Yep. You get the visa. What's your status with Canada right now, between Canada and the States?
Well, so, okay. 4 days before I moved to LA, I was dating this awful guy. Like, there was some good about him. Like, he looked like Tony Soprano. He spoke like Winston Churchill, but he was like an abusive monster.
I'm sorry. That sounds.
I mean, that sounds
the way that sounds like it would be an abusive monster.
Yeah,
it looks like Tony Soprano, talks like Winston Churchill. I'm like, wow, those are kind of weirdly red flags.
That's what you were looking for.
Listen,
right. It might have been like, ooh, bullseye, but that does sound like a red flag.
As my friend Paul says, Richard, your butthole has been a camping ground for villainous men. So I'm dating this awful guy, and we've been dating for about 4 years at this point. He lives in a different city than me, but he comes to town twice a month for work stuff. And he's like, I met him when I was 25. And he said, I would like to take you out and get you very drunk, and I will impress everyone that I'm with a man 40 years younger than me. And because you're clever and do art, they'll all think it's wonderful. And I will take you to all the fancy events and all this sort of shit. So I was like, that sounds great. What a great adventure. Why would I say no to that? And of course, obviously, like, he sort of plays it as if it's not a sexual thing, but it absolutely is. And I'm like, that's fine. That's fun. And but you know how, like, sometimes the next morning you just can't shower enough. It was that kind of relationship. And so we're together like a couple of times a month, and when I go into his city, I stay with him and things. And then right after my first marriage ended, he had a triple bypass, and he calls me and he's like, "Hey, look, I'm a horrible person, and so no one is going to come and look after me because I have alienated everyone in my life. Would you come and stay with me?" I was like, "Sure, why not?" At this point, like, I'm living in this hotel with this philanthropist surfer who only ever wants to hug and talk about Bernie Sanders. So I'm like, sure, I can dip out of this situation. So I'm staying with him. Then I'm sort of technically living with him, and he's really nice because he's sick, and then he starts getting like meaner and meaner. And I start finding reasons to not be there, and then I'm out for a walk, and I run into this couple that I had a three-way with when I was 15, and like one of them had fallen asleep during it, so I've kind of kept having sex with them ever since to try and make up for it. Have never had good sex with these people, and have done it like 30 times.
You just keep going back to these unfortunate situations.
If someone fell asleep during a three-way, you would want to make up for it. Like that's a failing.
I'm not sure. I feel like that's the sign that it was not meant to be. Like at any point in time, I'd be like, "Wow, I fell asleep. I'm pretty sure this is not for me."
No, like
this particular situation.
I didn't fall asleep. He fell asleep.
He fell asleep. Oh,
yeah,
I see.
I need to make up for that. Like I'm like, look, I'm a big boy who's good at sex. Please let me prove it. To you.
You're like, no. I can make it so you don't fall asleep. Okay, yeah. I see. Okay, yeah.
Anyway, so I had recently lost a bunch of weight and shaved my beard, and this couple, they see me on the street, and one of them starts like flirting with me. I'm like, "Hey, it's Richard. We've done this too many times." And they're like, "Oh my God, we didn't recognize you. Wait, you're dating Tony now, aren't you?" I was like, "Yeah, I am." And they're like, "Oh my God, we have to take you out for lunch, and you can tell us about it because he's terrible." I was like, "He is terrible, but you're very boring, so I don't want to do that." And I just had this. I'd been on this awful date where this like I'd had sex with this guy all afternoon, and then like had a conversation with him after, which is always a mistake.
Oh, yeah.
Because we went out to dinner, and right after I ordered my favorite soup, he said some horribly transphobic shit. So I had to like chug like my soup to make it worthwhile, and then try and yell at him. But my mouth was all numb from the spices, so like I just ended up kind of like making weird noises loudly in a restaurant. Anyway, so I storm out of there, run into these guys, and they're like, "Come out to lunch with us. Actually, you'd be doing us a favor because we have this guy coming over who's a friend of a friend who's in town. He's an American guy judging a dog show." And I was like, "Actually, you just rung a lot of my bells. I will definitely come to that." So I go to the hotel where they're picking this guy up, and there's this dude who just has like used car salesman energy. Like he looks like if like Morris Sendak and Robert Crumb went down a slide too fast together, and he's smoking and hunched over and looks grumpy, pacing back and forth. And I'm like, please God, tell me it's him. Like shit, I want to get up in his guts so fast. And of course it is him. So like we start talking, he looks like Grandpa Ned Flanders, and he immediately hates these two because they take us to lunch at a bird sanctuary where they are featured in the welcome video, and they make us watch it. And all they will do is talk shit about dogs and how dogs are a menace to like native wildlife. Yeah. And he breeds Great Danes. And I'm like mad that I have to be there anyway, want to take this guy and get in his pants. So I'm just like, I'm siding with him on everything. And then at one point he's like, I am sure I'm not allowed to smoke inside this fucking nature reserve. So I'm going to go stand by the car until these two have finished their walk. Richard, if you want to come with me, please do. And so I'm like, absolutely. Turns out he's Canadian. Big disappointment, obviously. But we, have some drinks, have some sex. The next day, I go back and see him again, have some more drinks, have some more sex. He goes back to Canada, emails me like a week and a half later, and is like, you mentioned you were going to be in LA pretty soon. Do you want to, I'll fly down. And I was like, I do not want a serious relationship. I'm breaking up with shitty, abusive Tony Soprano man, but his real name is Tony. Like it's too many things. Also, his name is Tony Simpson, which is very difficult when you're trying to explain who he is and show people a picture of him, because if you type in Tony Simpson, you get pictures of Fat Tony from The Simpsons, which again is a good representation of this man.
There you go.
It's a common enough name. I'm sure that's fine.
That was good. Yeah, we may edit that out.
No, it's fine. It's like he mentions in his memoir.
Fine.
But I do like that his sort of triple bypass near-death experience made him reflect and say, like, I'm a terrible person. And then slowly but surely over time, he just sort of reverted back to, which is, the way that goes.
So I fall deeply in love with this Canadian man. he comes to LA. We spend like a weekend together. We both hate Disneyland. He tries to break into Nickelodeon Studios for me because I casually mentioned that I would love to have a show there because of The Last Airbender. Like it seems like if I'm doing a kids show, that seems like a good kind of home for it. And he immediately starts trying to climb the fence. I'm like, you're 70 years old, please stop. But like, thank God someone still believes this sort of shit is possible. And so then I start jumping back and forth between LA and Canada every couple of weeks, probably destroy my career by doing so because I've canceled so many damn meetings. And then 2018, we got married. I built a big haunted house for the wedding, did a whole murder mystery thing where my best friend, a plastic skeleton, killed us. And then my divorce hadn't come through, so I couldn't get legally married. So then when COVID hit, we got stuck in separate countries. He flew down. We got married in a strip mall in the Valley. I came back to Canada, and now I've been mostly trapped here in the middle of nowhere, just churning out comics. But as of 8 days from now, I have my visa back. By the way, Trump canceled my visa while I was out of the country. He was just like, anyone on an O-class visa can't come back in. Yeah. And so, because the scientists were using it to make him look like a dummy. And so, yeah, next week I move back to LA and we go back to our life of like 2 weeks together, 2 weeks apart.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Oh. Yeah. I mean, and does he sometimes come down to see you 2 weeks?
Oh, yeah. He loves Hollywood.
Okay.
Yeah. So it'll be, I'll do 6 weeks in LA, 2 weeks here, and he'll do the opposite.
Gotcha.
Oh,
yeah.
That's beautiful.
That's a good setup. Yeah. And so that's been so you've been married since 2018 at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Any horror gay themed work coming our way?
Yeah, I'm doing a thing at the moment called The Lights That Guide You Home, and it's about an old man who is very bothered by the changing of the streetlights. Sort of based on how like LA used to have those beautiful amber globes and everything looked amazing, and now they have those horrible white ones, except for over by that school on Bronson where it's like they've got that one nice streetlight left. But if you hang around at elementary school in the middle of the night, you look
it's like creepy apparently. Yeah.
But it's like, no, I just like the streetlight. I'm not weird. I lived like 3 houses down from there, so I'm just like very aware of it. That was a great street to live on. We had a guy who kept stabbing the walls of the house. He screamed a lot. Anyway, he broke in and ate all my ham one time and then threw out blood everywhere. It's about like basically the premise is that the streetlights get changed to these new ones, which will, in theory, make everything safer because they're so bright they'll cast light everywhere. But like the very white, almost purple lights make the shadows so much darker. And there's less shadow, but it's so much darker that things start growing out of it. And it's about what comes out of the shadows once they reach a certain amount, like certain level of darkness, and the places where the sunlight never hits, and all the alleyways become kind of entrances to the woods, and people who have been lost in the woods start following the lights. The lights that guide you home bring people out of the woods, but they're not people anymore.
Very nice. Oh yeah. Lots of potential for Hollywood sort of mythos and.
So it's about an old gay man who likes to build ships in bottles.
Ooh, very nice.
And I'm assuming that is.
What are we getting?
Does that come from life? Is that a part of your old gay man or no?
No, it's just I've always kind of like with horror stuff. One of the key principles I hold is like the closer you cling to safety, the more dangerous things become. Like. You know, if we're out in the wilderness, we run into a house because a house seems comfortable, but of course the house is haunted. The shadows are darkest, closest to the light. So like the evil is strongest right next to the thing that's meant to protect you from it. And I think that like that instinct we have to like look for safety and accept it, whether it's real or not, is kind of key to scaring people.
That's the Hansel and Gretel story. Kind of in a nutshell right there. Like, mention the house in the woods, and it's like, that's literally where all the terror happens. So
yeah. And so I'm like very interested in that kind of horror and the streetlight thing. Like, I don't like that a city becomes less beautiful because they decide that these new ones are safer, especially when they're not. In the same way as like when you go into a suburban neighborhood and they put in like, speed humps everywhere, when no one was ever speeding there. They've just done it so that you have a physical reminder that like your government is taking care of you. Your money is being spent on something that you will forget.
Or the people on that very specific block are wealthy enough that they were able to, or organized enough or something, that they petitioned the government. Like, LA is riddled with neighborhoods where it's like there's just like that one street with the speed bumps.
Yeah.
And then everything left and right of it has nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like that one block that you just avoid.
But it makes the people who live there, their life is worse because of the thing they wanted.
Precisely.
Right. Because they have to drive the speed bumps no one else does.
Mm-hmm. So I'm really interested in that. So that one, it's been a bit rough, honestly. I have drawn the first 5 pages now 4 times.
Okay.
I just kind of keep not quite cracking it, and then I've been doing a lot of like with the Ex-Wives of Frankenstein cover. I did the actual physical sculpture and photographed it, and it was sort of fun working with something that wasn't pens. That I think I just really want to like break out of my normal comic stuff a little bit. So I'm now doing this sort of weird mix of collage and watercolor and pen and ink stuff over it. Okay. And so it becomes like a much bigger physical production. Every page is technically 4 sheets. But I think I've cracked it. So I'm not going to be in the same place for more than 2 weeks until Christmas. So I might be a little bit slow on working, but I'm hoping Ex-Wives of Frankenstein will be August, October, January, March. In December, I'm doing a book called I'm Only Drawing Danny DeVito as the Penguin Until I Stop Wanting to Fuck Him. And then I'm thinking Haunted Hill 2 in May, and then The Lights That Guide You Home 1 will be in June or July.
Okay. Wow.
All right. Let's get to the Danny DeVito. Let's get to the Danny DeVito. What's the word?
Sorry. Yeah, Dallas is not on social media. I have seen a little bit of this, but Dallas is absent of these fun updates.
I've been in LA for 8 weeks. I might have been a little lonely, I was working on Ex-Wives of Frankenstein kind of 20 hours a day. And I was watching Batman Returns, which is a popular hit film from 1992. And there's this scene where the Penguin is in his like very soiled Victorian night dress. And
did it for you, huh?
Well, he's eating a fish with 2 hands.
Yeah, it's great.
And to use my good friend Pat Shan's expression, I bricked up. And I was like, I don't know how to fucking like deal with this feeling. Like I am rock hard right now looking at Danny DeVito eat a fish. And like I have been attracted to Danny DeVito for a long time. Like normal Danny DeVito, I am like down to clown all the way to the ground.
He has great energy.
Like I love short guys, I love bold guys, like everything for me. And I don't know, but like the Penguin is designed to be the grossest fucking creature like ever seen on film. And so I think to myself, well, I probably need to start processing this. Maybe if I can like really focus on the parts of the film where I don't like him, because there like when he's like doing his showman bullshit, I don't like him. I'm not attracted to that. But it's when he's sad and vulnerable, I'm just so there. And I think a big part of it is I'm like, hey, maybe if I fuck you and tell you I love you unconditionally, you'll stop trying to steal all of the babies from Gotham. Like maybe I can make you a better person with with my cool dick.
Right. You can change him.
Like, and I'm not denying that I'm a broken person for thinking that.
Oh, clearly, no one is denying that.
But I want to hold him and like touch his face and so I'm trying to draw him and write about the experience of drawing him and trying to like either get to know him well enough that I don't like him anymore sexually. Like, can I friend zone the Penguin?
You're exercising this demon, huh?
Yeah. And it's gone in a weird direction. I have
exorcise.
I bought this action figure of him.
Wow.
His pants are off right now, so I'm gonna hide that. So like I'm invested at this point in this whole thing, and I've started drawing like thinking about other people I'm attracted to and trying to figure out the reasons. So I'm like drawing Dr. Fauci and then drawing his face side by side, trying to merge them. Kathy Bates in Misery, because I want a fan that dedicated. And then Grandpa Munster, who's kind of been like my number one crush since I was a kid, and trying to figure out where they all line up. And I won't spoil the ending of the book because it's kind of reached a weird place. A big thing happened recently where the film Grampire got a Blu-ray release, and I had some big realizations about where all of my sexual fantasies begin. So that one, it's going to be a strange collage art more than commerce type of book. I don't even know if Kickstarter will let me do it, to be honest. Like,
yeah, I don't know the rules of Kickstarter well enough to know what they. I mean, they do lots of funky, like not safe for worky type of stuff. They don't
certainly, and like I do hold the record for the most dicks on a cover.
Yes,
for
you do.
Hill, 29, by the way. But I don't know what drawing a real person, especially drawing a DC character. Like I think the subtitle of the book is How I Guarantee I'll Never Work for DC.
Although when you get a copy of that's ready for public consumption, I need one.
I think look, I'm hoping to do a campaign in December for it. Worst case, I'm going to print it anyway and just have it as an add-on. If I get a cease and desist, so be it.
We'll do a staged reading in LA.
Yeah. Well, I put out after Octopus got like a lot of good happened from Octopus, and I felt very good about putting it out into the world, even though it was probably too revealing. I did another book called Too Hot for Octopus, where I kind of did a deep dive into the backstories and context and aftermath of all of the villainous men from the main book. And it's a handwritten journal that I wrote while I was traveling to New Zealand and Australia for a friend's wedding and other things this year. And like, I fired my manager a couple of weeks ago because he told me how cool AI was, and then told me that I had to be more careful with this kind of stories I tell. And also, he never seems to check his emails, so he might not know he's fired. But he had told me very specifically, like, you have to be more careful. I was like, here's my latest book. It's called Too Hot for Octopus. Let me highlight the point where I say, and then I met for the first time in my life a writer, and I can't stress how important that was for the boy who had spent so many years jerking off to a poster of R.L. Stein.
Just FYI, another T-shirt.
Yes,
it's another T-shirt.
Someone gave me R.L. Stein's jacket a few years ago.
That
I was like,
jacket.
I don't. I don't know what to do with this. Like,
I'm sure you figured it out.
No, do I wear this thing? Like, am I like pretending to be R.L. Stein? Like, I was making my living writing horror for kids at the time, so like I guess it's sort of, but it felt like a little thirsty. And then I found out later it was just the jacket that Jack Black had worn when he played R.L. Stein. I'm like, oh, that's why it fit. Okay, cool, thanks.
Although Jack Black seems physically, it might fit your sort of.
No. He's big. He's got big energy.
Yeah, he's much bigger.
Oh, like, and I don't even mean like he's a large guy, because like, I'll fuck a big boy, but it's more like I'm very attracted to sadness. I think I was at a comedy show that my friend was playing, and there was a guy at the next table from me, and I was like, that guy is so like he's not my type, but oh man, he's really sexy. Like I'm gonna just do some casual flirting. And he was not responsive at all. And I was like, what's going on? Like, he's giving me such energy of like, that's the kind of guy that you have sex with, Richard. What am I missing here? And I went to my friend who knows me very well. I was like, hey, Alex, why do I want to have sex with that guy? He's like, oh, it's your sadness thing, Richard. That's the guy who plays Jerry on Parks and Rec. It's like, fuck, okay.
Yes. Yeah.
We never had sex.
You're sad.
Oh my goodness.
I love it. Richard,
yeah, I was going to say, Jack Black, he can only do faux sadness. He can only do of like, Yeah, like I'm trying to even imagine him in all the roles, all the music, all the everything he's ever done, and it's always like put upon sadness. He never seems sad. He never seems low energy. He never seems actually upset.
Yeah,
or
there's no
not
film
upset,
called
but sad about anything. He's never sad about anything.
Yeah,
seemingly.
This is going to sound like a name dropping story, and it's really not. But like, it's a just Jack Black is cool story. He was at my house a few years ago recording. There was a YouTube series where basically celebrities would do a seance with this magician and talk to like a famous dead person, and it was filmed in the recording studio at my place. I continued living with the same guy who had the other recording studio, and he has built several recording studios in different places I've lived. It's always a nightmare, but I like the chaos. Jack Black's energy, you know how like there are people who when they're on, and then when they're not, they're back to normal. Mm-hmm. Jack Black's normal energy is so heightened that you would think he was performing, and then when you see the change that happens when he goes into performer mode, you're like, oh, genuine you is just like above human, like
right.
And the
it's everyone else's performer mode.
Yeah, and like his physicality is so precise. You know those people who just know where their limbs are at all times? I'm not one of those. I just kind of stared at him and I was like, this is amazing. Like I felt like he was controlling the hair on his head.
Right. Yeah. I get that both from, especially with his musical performances and things like that. If you ever watch like the music videos or ever a live performance that he did as Tenacious D and things like that, like he's just like, even if he's just walking out on stage to like introduce the show, like there's never, and I've never seen him in a role where he's low energy. And that's always very telling, because actors who have been around as long as Jack Black have, eventually, even Robin Williams had that role that was finally like a calmer role for him.
Yeah, he did 1 hour photo. It was great.
Everyone 1 hour photo. Yeah. But like Jack Black's never had that role. It's like, I don't know if it's in him, and maybe he knows that, maybe everyone else knows that. I don't know. But for whatever reason, like in all this time that he's been a celebrity, he's never attempted to do a role where he's not been Jack Black, you know?
Interesting. It's that sort of like there are movie stars and they exist as movie stars because we like them enough that we accept that we never see them as anything other than the movie star. Like you don't watch Meryl Streep and think that's a character. You think that's Meryl Streep playing that character. Like it's why
certainly these days, yeah.
Well, I think like the tipping point is like I think the point where we all realized it was Ricky and the Flash, where it's like, oh, this movie would be a fucking masterpiece if you weren't in it, because
you weren't in it.
Right.
Yeah.
And Tom Cruise is the same way. Like he can give an incredible, like I still love him in Magnolia. I think he like pulled out all the stops when he gave that performance. I don't know if anyone here agrees, but I definitely think that. But he was still Tom Cruise. Like there was no
greatest movie star in the history of the world, just in case anyone from his production company is watching.
But we do agree that Scientology is made up and fake, right?
Hey, calm down.
Oh god. And he wonders like why lately in the tabloids it's all been like, why can't he find a new girlfriend? Why can't he find a new wife? And it's like, dude, no, everyone's hip to what you're doing now. It's like no one wants that shit in their life. No one. But yeah, I think there's a lot of celebrities. But I think there's all celebrities. If you're not a Tom Cruise, if you're not, and Tom Cruise is a great example, like Jack Black, where it's like they never not want to be the celebrity version of themselves. I think people who get into Scientology are like that, though. You have your John Travoltas, your Tom Cruises, your Will Smiths, where it's almost like they never want to not be the celebrity version, certainly not to the public. And Scientology, controls that narrative and controls what the public sees. And so you're always just Tom Cruise. You're always Jack Black. I don't think is into Scientology. I think he's just Jack Black, and that will always be what he is. But anyone else, they finally hit that point in their career where they're like, I want to be known. Like I know I can do more than this. I have range. I want to finally do that, and they do it, and it usually is very impressive. But then you've got the celebrities where it's just like, this is what I do till the day I die, till the day I fade away.
I have no idea if Jack Black is a Scientologist or not. I'm going to assume he's not. I'm going to hope he's not. But he is the reason I know about Scientology, because I got the internet at the exact same time that the first Tenacious D record came out. And that was where I first heard the term Dianetics. And I was like, I wonder what that is. I can use Lycos Hotbox to look it up.
You educated. Well, that's good. Was that before you came to LA? So you were like well educated on that before you ever landed?
Yeah. No, I haven't been to the Museum of Psychiatry, the Industry of Death, or the big sign that says "Who is housed when money talks," which is an empty building with homeless people outside of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I always love it. Like people who are not native to LA and haven't really followed these days. I feel like you really got to be sleeping under a rock if you haven't followed like all the HBO specials and shit like that, and the books that have like completely uncovered everything the Scientology does. But they'll come to LA and they're like, "Oh, we ran into some Scientology, like the people of the Hubbard thing, the church on the street. They were really nice." I'm like, no. That is, of course, they're nice to you. They want you to come inside. That is how it works.
Before Pig and Whistle got found out to be kind of a little bit of a front for a weird sex cult thing, it was like the closest bar to my office. And so I used to go there for happy hour every day. And so I'd have to like walk past the Scientologist every day. Yeah. And then at a certain point, I was like, stop. You see me every day. Stop it. Like, I'm not a tourist. I know I'm walking along Hollywood Boulevard, but I'm not a tourist. Like, see how I walk up to people who are taking pictures with the stars and I say, it's hard to believe they're buried there. It's because I'm not a fucking tourist.
Exactly.
All right, Pig and Whistle, cheapest wings in town.
That was actually news to me about Pig and Whistle. That I didn't know.
And they made a great Scotch egg.
Yeah. If I'm not going to go into a podcast. It's so fun inside LA, but like
I can Google it. I'm sure I'll be able to find some information out there.
It was one of the it's one of the 2 times in my life when I've almost joined a cult and I've been like, this seems like a cult. I should go.
Yeah. It was a fun place on certain nights.
Yeah, Tuesdays between midnight and 2. This is a really cool place. Oh, they're doing like mindfulness retreats on the weekend. Oh, sexual openness and hypnosis. That's really interesting. Oh, a lot of stuff came out about them in the newspapers, and now the building they own the building. That's so weird.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. I was going to say any place that is a bit of an industry hotspot sometimes it's not surprising when it turns out there was a reason that it was such because a lot of times you're like, it's just a weird, it's just a pub. Like, why is this an industry hotspot? I don't entirely understand that. So,
it's the basement. It's the secret basement.
Yes. It's like, why does everyone want to have a meeting here? I don't understand.
Well, no, if you're thinking of Beechwood, it's because there's no cell signal.
Ah, that's true.
And the lime and chili fries fucking rule. It means that you can't have your meeting interrupted. We have just gone so LA. You can tell I'm missing LA. I've been gone for 5 weeks, and I'm just like losing my mind not being there.
1 week. You're almost back.
Oh my God.
Almost there.
Well, on that note,
where in
Canada are you? Actually, where in Canada are you? I forgot to ask that.
I'm in a place called South Surrey. It is directly north of LA, so same time zone, which is great. I am right on the border. At one end of my house, my phone thinks I'm in America. So like literally, depending where I am, I can get certain websites depending which part of my house I'm in. It's fine.
Wow.
I love my husband very much. He's wonderful. I will be here for him.
He's like, this is a sacrifice, though. I want
That's right.
That.
The next little town, which is technically South Surrey, but calls itself White Rock, is called White Rock because, you guessed it, has a large white rock.
That's right.
I was like, I should see this large white rock they have. And Ray's like, okay. So we walk around the shoreline, and we get to this, I would say, moderately sized rock, like the size of a large SUV, I guess. Nothing impressive. And it's painted white. Like, it's not
not even naturally white.
Yeah. They paint it every year.
So do you think they literally just laid a rock there, painted it, and they're like, we're White Rock. See, we have a reason.
Yeah. It's a place where it seems like a very wealthy beachside community until you go on Grindr and realize that it's like entirely populated with elderly gay men who are really hooked on meth because they worked out if they put meth up their butt, it gets their dick hard.
Is that the white in the white rock? I'm confused. I don't know. I'm like, why did they want a white rock? See, a white rock, it just, that feels like a high school kind of a thing. Like you just, you paint a rock white and you're like, we're White Rock High School, White Rock Elementary, whatever. It's like what? A community? Why did an entire town call themselves that? But yeah, anyway, they liked it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
All right, so let's actually talk, because let's talk about Ex-Wives.
Yeah.
Now that we've done the introduction, now that we're caught up, what we're here to, the comic in specific we're here to talk about is Ex-Wives of Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
Why Ex-Wives of Frankenstein?
Yeah, what
brought this on?
I think it's one of these things where I had a sort of joke title, and everyone always says that like all of our like great horror monsters are about different kinds of fear. Fear of and I can never remember which thing people say each one represents. But everyone always says that Dracula is the gay one, and I get it, because it is a book literally about men finding different ways to penetrate each other. But I personally think that Frankenstein is a much gayer story. It is a story about a man who all he wants to do is build a perfect man who is, in essence, a reflection of himself. When people do the Frankenstein's the name of the doctor, not the monster, I'm like, he never finished med school. He's not a doctor. Eat your own asshole. He was busy digging up corpses. The monster is also Frankenstein. Like the point is that the monster is a reflection of him. Like when they die in the water at the end, when they fall into the water and freeze to death, they're holding each other, like staring at each other as reflections. Like the monster is Frankenstein. He is the demon born of him. And they can't leave each other alone, like ever. Exactly. No matter what they try to do. Yeah. It's the ultimate, why are you so obsessed with me? Mm-hmm. But I think that Elizabeth Frankenstein is a fascinating character. And I know that in the book, she's never Elizabeth Frankenstein because she is like killed on the wedding night. But she is his adopted sister, who is given like I think I realized that. Like literally like page 1 of the fucking book. Literally, like it's not page 1, but it's very early in the book. The mother adopts this kid because she's like, you're too pretty to live with a poor family. We're adopting you. Right. And then she's like, here, Victor, this is Elizabeth. She is here for your every pleasure. And so from 5 years old, Victor has... That's right. Yeah, it's gross. Yeah. It's a gross as fuck thing. And then he marries her. Well, but isn't it like best friend? I mean, because if it is adopted, I mean, isn't that just like growing up with a best friend and then falling in love with them later in life?
No, I mean, there's no blood relation, but still, come on.
Okay, but it's still, being given.
Richard's like, I have lines, people.
Much like the Lindsay Lohan film Life Size, it is problematic to be given a person.
Thank you for working Lindsay Lohan into this conversation.
And her most popular film.
Thank you for that.
It's like it sucks. Like she's a character who's not given much. And then in the films, Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, Mary Shelley is a character who has to like tell these men a story that they literally then explain back to her.
Yeah.
Like I don't think the women are treated well in these books. And then especially the Bride of Frankenstein, who in the novel is like created and never brought to life, she gets burned. And then in the film, she's the titular character, and then she shows up and screams, and then gets blown up. And like I know there are other films afterwards, but I don't give a fuck about those. Like if you promise me the Bride of Frankenstein, she's an iconic image, the lightning bolt through the hair, all of that, and she's there for 2 minutes. And I thought like, well, what would happen if we just modernize this? Like, what happens when if you accept that both of the men are Frankenstein? What do their wives look like? What are their ex-wives? And so the premise for the book is it's the modern day, and 3 years after Victor and the monster have disappeared in the Arctic, they are found living as a gay couple together. And they are returning to the city. as a prominent gay couple and the heroes of Reddit and the MRA community. And Elizabeth and the bride, who's now going by Victoria, which is a name deeply owed to Victor, and like that's a shitty thing for a person to do to themselves, but that's a whole thing in the book. So Elizabeth and Victoria spending the day together as like they don't like each other, but they have no one else who would understand what they've been through. And I really enjoy the idea of Victoria having a chip on her shoulder because she was literally made for someone else. She was a gift for a man, and not realizing that Elizabeth was that too. And playing with that dynamic as the two of them, as Elizabeth works as the older woman who looks down on Victoria for not having her experience, and Victoria looking at this older woman and thinking, you couldn't understand what I've been through because she just doesn't know. It's a fun story, and it's just a fucking complicated deep dive into a nuanced friendship. It is a French film disguised as genre fiction.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that honestly I liked about it, though, is that especially because issue number 1, I would not classify this as a spoiler, but it's just a conversation between the two.
Yeah.
It's like them meeting up. They have a reason to meet up and have this conversation. That I won't spoil.
The topic of the conversation is
right.
Maybe
I already that's the one. That. I already, it's.
Oh, you already.
We like to.
I'm like, it's the one kind of plot-oriented element. Maybe I shouldn't say it. But it is. But it's great because it. They come together to have this discussion, and really, it is. It's just this awkward, halting discussion between these two characters that are. They have, for lack of a better way to say it, shared trauma. But then also. Yeah, there's obviously a divide between them. So it's like it's shared, but only up to a point. And then beyond that point, it's just them kind of feeling that out. And I freely, like, even knowing your work and even knowing how I'm starting to hate the term slice of life, but I'm still going to use it here anyway. But like how slice of life a lot of your work tends to be, it still took me by surprise that something called the Ex-Wives of Frankenstein was just going to be kind of like same approach, or like, we're doing this. Yes, they're the brides of Frankenstein. Right. This is still living. This is what it's like. This is what the day-to-day is. We're still just going to show it this way. It's one of the reasons why, we're going to get to the whole wine pairing for this comic, but one of the reasons I found it very challenging to pair, because I'm like, oh, Jesus, it's just an awkward, what do you pair with an awkward conversation? I'm like boiling it down. I'm like, that's what I have to do. I have to be like, what do I want to be drinking while I'm having this conversation? I don't fucking want to have, but I also kind of need to. Maybe there's a part of this that's like, I'm not just kicking them out, but at the same time, I really want them to leave. What am I drinking while I'm having this conversation? And I was not sure about that.
You're giving the characters wine. You got to think about, like, you would just be like chug-a-lugging some vodka there at that party while you
as the third party looking in, as the friend who's just like, oh,
like, drama. Where is the alcohol?
Like, I want this book to feel like something that you can't look away from. It's.
I agree with that, actually. Like, once you start,
accomplished that.
Yeah. Once you start that conversation, I'm like, I was shocked when the issue ended, because I was just like, wait, what that.
Yeah,
it wasn't done, and so you're just going along, and it's so in the moment that when it finally is just like, okay, that's enough for now, wait for issue number 2, you're just like, no. Like, we were in the middle of something,
and the only promise you get is that they've found a reason to continue talking.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Which is the plot element. He says it's not a spoiler, but yes, the men are coming back. Let's just put it that way. They are likely, and maybe you don't want to answer this. I don't know if this would be a spoiler, but like the insinuation is that they will have to deal with them in person at some point. Now that the men are counted amongst the living.
Yeah.
I can tell you that the men are not in the first arc. Okay. I have ideas for the second arc that are swirling around, and I'm figuring out if there's because of the nature of like the men are now a gay couple, the two ex-wives are awkward friends. There's the joke is it's Grace and Frankenstein. And it's not, because my thing's good. It's kind of the first thing, right. But also the
were you tempted to call it Grace and Frankenstein? Like, was that a working title for a while?
No.
Okay.
No. It's more that like the I think one of the things about that show that is really like difficult, and I think a product, like, you know, when you say something's a product of its time, that one's such an interesting product of its time, because at a point where you have gay characters in 2016 or whatever it was, 15 maybe, you can't write them out of the story, because then then it's gay erasure, and we don't have enough gay characters on television that we can have them not exist yet, right? Like, you can't do that,
right?
But what it means is the show that's about these like two women finding their own empowerment after their husbands have gone largely becomes about the husbands.
Absolutely.
And
the ghost of the party,
and it sucks. And it sucks because, you know, the men got paid more than the women on that show, and all the other shit that went along with that. But I don't care about the men in the story. I don't care about how they feel. I love stories about, or no, I might not love. I know too many stories from real life about women, friends of mine, who have been viewed as the wife or girlfriend of the troubled genius, and I think that that's kind of always shitty.
Mm-hmm.
And there are too many people to name, but I don't like. I'm not gonna. It's a complicated thing. I want to say here's a long list of people who I can talk about, but I also don't want to like throw them under that bus of like telling them their husbands or boyfriends suck. But I you know, I've had a lot of friends in my life where it's been like, there's been almost an apology of like, oh, I'm so sorry I'm here. You probably want to talk to my husband. He's the one who's the public face of this. And it's like, Is he the public face of this because he's the one who does it? Or is he the public face of this because the public have asked to talk to the, is there a man here I can speak to? And I think, like, you know, the shows like Grace and Frankie fall into that for good and bad reasons, or understandable and ununderstandable reasons. So I don't want to have Victor or the monster in this story for as long as I can possibly avoid it. I know they will have to feature in it because I think it's important for the characters, for my characters, to have the catharsis of confronting those men.
Right.
And I also think the incredibly complicated dynamic of one of the characters having to play nice with those men is important to their relationship, to how those two women will relate when one of them has to make that compromise. But I think I know the first arc does not feature the men at all, and I think the second arc I can probably get away with showing them in kind of cheating shots with hands and shoulders and never give them any dialogue.
Okay.
I mean, I did love the fact because it starts with the revelation that they're around somewhere, not necessarily close. And I think I was even surprised that they didn't feature in the first issue, but that does make a lot of sense. And I think I'm just surprised because, again, it's the expectation, right, of going into these stories that they're like, well, they're the famous names. They're the ones who are supposed, like Frankenstein himself. They're the ex-wives of Frankenstein, even though technically that's their title. In a way, it's still the Frankenstein name that is Yeah, of course. So you're just like, well, of course, Frankenstein's going to be here soon, right? One of them or both of them. And then when they weren't, I was like, oh yeah, it's just the Ex-Wives of Frankenstein. Okay, got it.
I will say, I will definitely say this: the tease of this first episode issue, it's pretty titillating because I really want to see and catch up with the two male characters, but the dynamic between these two women is so satisfying that it almost seemed, inconsequential, the relationship between the two men. Like, it just seems, it's already out there. It's clear what the relationship is in issue 1, or at least, we know there's something clearly, curiously inappropriate about the relationship when you compare it to what we know about the two characters. So it's very satisfying, the relationship between these primary characters. So,
and I like to give my characters a complex issue to chew on, because it's I think a lot of people have no one ever puts it in their stories. Well, some people do, but very few people put it in their stories. But a lot of people talk about it when they're like, let's talk about the nuance of this.
Yeah.
Do I have to like this thing just because it's this?
Yeah.
And I think 99.9% of those conversations are just people who want to have a shitty opinion and want to mask it. Like like we know that Mattel is a problematic and capitalist corporation who don't pay a lot of attention to workers' rights, for instance. Right. But like, are you really talking about that, or are you using that as cover to say that you don't like that the Barbie movie exists because of girls in it?
Right.
And I think like there's a tiny percentage of people who have valid and good opinions, but they can also shut up. Like, or just shut up right now. Like, just shut up. It doesn't matter. But the complicated nature of it all, of like, these women are so mad at these men, and these men are a prominent gay couple. And can you imagine how much harder it is to be? I mean, like I've had a lot of friends who have had breakups over like, people coming out and what have you. And I can't imagine that's a fun thing to deal with. When my first marriage ended, I've been pretty openly bisexual for like far too long. And when my first marriage ended, I realized that a lot of people had never picked up on it. Like, the number of people who are like, "Oh, I thought you were kind of joking about that." I'm like, "No, I wasn't. I was having sex with lots of men as well." But it became very like apparent to me that if I probably a bad decision at looking back on it, but like, I kind of just identified as gay rather than bisexual for the first year or so after my divorce, because it seemed like I was I don't know, I was giving my ex a way to talk about the breakup rather than be rather than complicated. Like, I was trying to give like some simple narrative, which, again, I don't think was a good idea or well received, but I didn't know how else to kind of deal with it, because at the time I had seen so many breakups happen that were because one party was like, "Oh no, I'm actually gay." And I think that what that really does is it puts the other person in a position where they're not allowed to be critical of it. Mm-hmm. You can't be mad at someone for leaving you, or someone of their own gender, or at least not publicly. And I wanted to put like a part of this was that like you can talk to your close friend about that. You can't vent on Twitter about that. You can't on any social media, whatever. But I wanted to be like this is one thing that will link them together, is that if they have some shitty thoughts,
this is a great trauma bond. It's a trauma bond for this.
Like, are their husbands really gay? Or like there's literally a point in issue 2, sorry for the spoiler, where Elizabeth just yells where it's not homosexuality, it's just narcissism. And it's like, you don't know if that's a genuine feeling or just her venting because she's just found out. And I think you get to have those dirty, messy feelings when you're confronted with shit like this.
Yeah. It's a twisted Sex in the City.
And much like Sex in the City, sex is a character.
It is character. That's right.
Dumb joke. Very dumb joke.
I like the Jordan Peterson reference, by the way. Nice way to work that in. That was nice.
Thank you. Living in Canada, I have discovered that his books always are like a staff pick at every bookstore I go into.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Had to sneak that in there.
But I think I think people have asked questions about this book, whether like, is this based on anyone specific? A couple of people have been like, is Victor Frankenstein? Are you writing Victor Frankenstein as Elon Musk? Like, is Victoria Grimes? Is Elizabeth? I can't remember Elon Musk's first wife. But like, as a famous inventor.
Why would you write a story about Elon Musk?
Well, I mean, I will say this: if I did, I wouldn't fucking want to draw him, would I? So maybe it's a good comparison.
Then there you go.
But like, like the inventor who didn't really invent anything, the person who's given all the credit, and the crowd who like him on the internet are probably, there's a good crossover. But the person who really got it the most was Steph C, who did one of my variants, who, without even asking me, she started drawing the cover and basing it on the characters from Death Becomes Her. I was like, yep, that's the relationship. That's the dynamic I was thinking about.
Okay.
Interesting. That is, wow. I haven't thought about that movie in too long, but yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Which is a great film, by the way. It's ridiculous, but it's a great film.
Robert Zemeckis' best film.
Great film.
Weirdly holds up too.
Which I think
like both
is
visually and in story.
I think it's in pre-pro remake right now.
Oh no!
Oh, yay!
Yeah.
I went as that for Halloween one year. My partner at the time, wore one dress, and then I wore the red dress. But I padded it, and I had two iPads on FaceTime with each other, and I cut the hole out around it so it could see directly through me for the camera.
That's commitment. That is commitment.
I was going to say, and did he do the thing with the head turned around?
We had my skeleton Nigel. We just dressed up in a human suit and then put actually an Austin Powers mask on him on backwards.
Yeah. Nice. Did you drain the eels? See what I did there?
Boom.
It's weird that you knew I had more than one.
I mean, you're from New Zealand, so yeah.
Do you remember?
Which, by the way, I did want to say also one thing that I love. I saw in an interview with you, Richard, that you had said you had at some point in your life from New Zealand, you had started watching like New Zealand TV, and you were like, "Oh, these accents are god awful," and so you were like, you consciously tried to lose the New Zealand accent at that point. And I love that your accent is totally unplaceable at this point. Like there's traces of it, but you almost have like a Christopher Walken accent now, like that thing where it's like, what is that? Like, it's not from anywhere. It's just a way of speaking that like people could mimic and replicate maybe, but it's not an accent that you can easily place. It's just your own. It's just your voice at this point.
Well, see, what happened was, like, yes, you're right. I as an 8-year-old, I tried to get rid of my New Zealand accent. And then I spent like a long time having this very like flat generic accent where I hit my vowels in strange ways and what have you. And it just became like my way of speaking. And then when I was 23, I lived with a dialect coach who basically said, I can't spend my days teaching Hugh Jackman to sound American and then come home to your garbage voice.
That's awesome.
And so he taught me to speak like an American because it was a very healthy, balanced relationship. And I found out he was secretly married, and so obviously just continued the online part of the relationship, and then sex because he lived near the good chicken place once I moved to LA. But it meant that when I
already said you're a very practical person.
You're very practical.
I will look. I will not go to Malibu for sex alone, but if you're near a good chicken place, I'm in.
I hear you. It's
so,
fish for me. Cool.
It's a points score, right? It's like as soon as all the points stock up enough, you're like, all right, you're over 25 points. If I go there, I'm good. All the benefits.
Yeah, and like he would, I'd always say to him like, "Would you want to come to Hollywood?" He's like, "No, poor people live there." I'm like, I hate you. I really hate you.
Not wrong,
but you know, what that dick did, right? So no, when I ended that relationship at 23, my accent was all sort of fucked up. And then when I moved to the US, I didn't speak to anyone from New Zealand for months and months and months. And when I started to again, they were like, "Oh, you sound American now. What's going on?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm one of those assholes. I'm like that person who goes to England for 2 weeks in high school and comes back and is like, hey, what? You know?"
Yeah.
But I don't know what I sound like in my head anymore, and it's fucking terrifying.
Mm-hmm. It's like hints and traces of different possible accents, but they're all peppered through your speech, which is why, again, it's sort of like Christopher Walken. You'd be like, oh, it's kind of New Englandy, and it's like, not really. I mean, you could maybe trace it back to that, but he is talking his own voice, and people have it's like an impossible thing to trace to a specific state or a specific city or anything like that. And I totally, in the little bit that I've heard from you on other interviews and whatnot, I've always loved that about your voice, where I'm just like, it's a voice, but it's not an accent. I don't know what that is.
It's got a real, like, you know, sugar water kind of energy to it, I guess. So what wines are you pairing? What order do you want to do this in?
Yes, on the subject of sugar water. So it's not a sugary wine, but so I had, you know, I think I described this earlier as something around the line. The issue, the Ex-Wives of Frankenstein, issue number 1, is sort of this like halting, awkward conversation between these two trauma survivors with a shared trauma experience. And yes, to Richard's point, I wasn't entirely trying to say what kind of wine would they drink, but at the same time, I'm experiencing that conversation, and not in a gleeful. I'm not just like, you know, it's like, ooh, drama between my friends. Let me listen to this and like feel better than them. This is awesome. I was very much feeling like, no, this is kind of an icy, landminey, you know, conversation where like so much more is unspoken than spoken in this conversation. Right. And it's all very like, they are trying, or at the very least, Elizabeth is definitely trying to bond with Victoria. Victoria seems very reluctant to do the same, but, or at least more so. But both of them, you know, they're like, Victoria also is not kicking Elizabeth out. Like, she's seeing where this goes. She thinks she might need this friend, but at the same time, there is this chasm between them that, at least in this issue, it was still an experience reading it where I was just like, okay, this is not warm fuzzies. This is not a happy, enjoyable, like, it's entertaining in the terms of, you know, from a literature standpoint, like, this is an insanely effective scene, but it's not something that makes me feel good. It's not something that it's like, I love people. I want to go have relationships with people. It's like, So I went with, I'm going to go with the specific wine that I went with in the end. And then I'm going to give, this is a bit, and this is a little on the obscure side. This is a hard to find wine. Not that it's expensive and not that it's hard to purchase. It's just, there's not that much out there, especially in the States. It's an Italian wine. It is, first, let me name it. So it is I'm going to try and put this up here so that it is Erbaluce, and that is the grape from Italy. And so it's a little bit of a grape that's come back from the dead, which, you know, thematically works very well with the Frankenstein thing. This is one that was nearly extinct in Italy until very recently, when a couple of folks, it's native to Italy, and a lot of winemakers over there have been like, you know, fuck this Cabernet Sauvignon, fuck this. Like, we've been making a lot of French wines over here in Italy for a little while. Outside of Sangiovese, they really have kind of ignored their own native varietals until recently. And now they're like, let's start cultivating our local varieties. and make sure, because they're actually very good. We just need to tend to them, like actually grow them more, learn how to make them well. And so this is one of the makers that actually brought Erbaluce back. The winery is called Cieck, Cieck. And by the way, for anyone, I'll try and put the word here on screen when I edit this in post, but it's Erbaluce, Erbaluce. And it is, they describe it as like drinking a melted glacier, where it's cold, it's severe, it's serene, all the flavor in it. And there is flavor, but it's like echoes of flavor. It's like there's some fruit, there's a lot of mineral, but it's like there's something very just cold and distant about it when I tried this. And I read the description of it. I had this one bottle kind of off to the side, and I remembered them saying it was like drinking a melted glacier. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Maybe this one. Let's open it and let's find out. And yeah, this was better. I had a backup. I'm gonna name the backup because it's easier to find here in a minute. But this one was much more the match in terms of just like, it has the feeling of this conversation. Like there is, as we mentioned, these two women are trying to connect. And they are there, not like they want to be there, but they also kind of don't want to be there. So like they're trying to build that bridge between each other. And this is a pleasant experience to drink. Like it's not harsh. It's not overpowering in any way. It's very well balanced. But again, it's not, I wouldn't describe it as a happy wine. It's one of those wines that, like, as you sip, you have to sit there and think about it. You have to really pay attention and to even taste all the flavors that are in there, because it's not prominent. It's very held back. So it just had that feeling of that conversation to me in terms of what this wine was. And then, hey, Italy, where Frankenstein dropped out of medical school. So that works too. That was a total afterthought. I did not think that at all. But
well, in the comic, it's mentioned that he went to Columbia.
Okay.
Did he go to Columbia?
That might be a later issue where she says he's not a fucking doctor. People call him that for 2 semesters at Columbia.
And then I did want to mention, as a backup, the one that's a lot easier to find, and both of these, I will say, the Erbaluce too, even though it's kind of a rare grape, I think I got that, I want to say, for $25 for the bottle. So like not ridiculous, for it's still in that, like, it's no $10 or under bottle of wine, but it's not like a crazy expensive imported, you got to pay $50 or over to even like get your hands on it. It's relatively easy to find. I'll definitely have a link under this video for where I got it, so people can go grab it. They'll ship it to you. But it's not one you're likely to find in like your local anything. Like you probably gotta hunt that fucker online. So the one that came close, and it's a French wine, so I'm going to try to make this pronunciation, and I'm probably going to fuck it up, but I'm going to try. But it is Muscadet Sevre, Maine. And it is, let me try and also put this up to the thing. So you can see it's basically Muscadet Sevre et Maine. Is how you spell that. I'll also put that on screen so people can find it. But this has always been my go-to. Like, it's very, very mineral heavy. This was a $7.99 bottle of wine from Trader Joe's. And it is kind of my go-to white at Trader Joe's right now, because the Muscadet, the Muscadet, you can't go wrong with it. Usually the most expensive Muscadets out there are around the $20 range. Most of them are 15 and under. And they're all just kind of nice. They're minerally, not very fruit forward. The Erbaluce was more severe, which is why it won out in the end. It was more spot on, whereas the Muscadet was still a little more fruity, a little more pleasant, a little more easy drinking. And the Erbaluce just challenged me a bit more in that way of just being this this wine of phantom flavors might be a good way to describe it. But for those of you who just want to head out to your local Trader Joe's, or honestly, if you go to your local grocery store, you go to a Total Wine, a Bevmo, where fucking ever, you're going to find a couple Muscadets out there because they are everywhere. So that's my backup. If, just everyone can find that one, and then Erbaluce if you want to challenge yourself. That's what I got.
Very nice. Very nice.
In Dallas.
I feel like I learned a lot.
All right. You're going to learn less from this stuff. So, all right. The sort of rubric and going into making this decision, behind this decision. I actually started with the idea that this wine should relate to the sort of icy nature of the relationship between these two. And so I was also thinking something glacial and crisp and white and icy. I started with the Vinho Verde. That was a little too Portuguese, a little too warm, a little too sort of summery. I then moved over to Swiss wines because, of course, it's Frankenstein. And Mary Shelley, of course. And I originally I had a Petit Arvin a few months back, and it was
that's actually new to me.
Oh, it's a white grape from based in Switzerland, but it pairs well with meat and all the nonsense. But it's a little on the young side. The grape, it takes a lot to kind of really enjoy more than a glass of this particular wine. But once you do get past that kind of youth, for lack of a better term, it's pretty pleasant. These and then the Chasselas, of course, which is another Swiss wine, another white. Again, it was all just sort of like, that's the kind of wine I would.
You said we were going to learn less.
That's the kind of wine.
I fucking love this. Like the idea, like once you get past the youth, like it's perfect for Victoria.
Oh
yeah.
But it's I decided this isn't the wine I would serve someone who was reading this. I decided I was going to pick a wine, or in this case, an aperitif, I would enjoy if I'd been the third person in the room. Okay. And for me, that thing is more akin to an aperitif. It is more akin to something that is sip-worthy. It's more akin to something that's a sherry, because I'm going to sit there pinky out in the corner, legs crossed, in my vest, my sweater vest, silently, just enjoying every roll of the eye between these two, every sly remark, every, just the sort of interaction, interplay between these two. I picture Fraser Crane in the corner, silently trying not to interject with his commentary on the relationship between these two women. And I decided on the it's Vin Noir, which is essentially a liqueur made from walnuts. It's also called nocine, I think, nocine in some certain areas, but it is a mixture of the green and the black walnuts, and then a bunch of spices, and then a really sort of rudimentary red wine is added, and then it's fermented, and then there's like a second fermentation, and it's just this really dense, rich kind of experience, which again is kind of the relationship between these two women. I mean, this first issue is, even though it's just these two women, these two characters, it's really meaty, and I want to stick around, and I want to sip this and make it last for as long as possible. So, the actual
Dallas does want to feel superior just watching the conversation.
Always, absolutely. Not want, just naturally feels. But this one in particular is called the Maraska Orahovac, which is a Croatian walnut liqueur, again made from a fermentation of the green and black. Oh shit! Where's my bottle?
And Maraska Orahovac is spelled exactly how it sounds, I assume.
Yes. Yes. We'll add pictures and nonsense for the show. But it's just so you don't need much, because again, in this first issue, it really just flies by. I mean, it really just flies by. Like before you know it, it's done. And I imagine myself sitting in the corner of this room, silently just going, huh? "That's right, girl." You know. And a glass of wine. Who needs that? That's super. No. I'm taking it's a liqueur. I need something with a little bite, a little kick in the nuts, because that's essentially what they're going to be doing in a couple of issues, I presume. So yeah, that's fun.
I wanted this to feel like the conversation that you would witness and be like, I need to talk about this with someone later. Like when when you make eyes with someone across the room at a party when something terrible is happening, it's like, oh yeah, we know this is tomorrow, right?
Right.
Yeah. You're right. It does, like, it's such a small moment. It does fly by, but at the same time, I think there's more text in this than 90% of comics out there at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, it's just that I've condensed a tiny. I've done what I always fucking do, where I take something very small and explode it out.
Yeah. I mean, that's the testament of a good writer, I think, in many cases, is being able to take those small moments and
well, and I think it's
fillet them, open them.
Yeah. I think it's good too, because the trend now is, usually if you're looking for like writing advice or anything, like whether it's comics, whether it's film, whether it's anything, it's always like most people are impressed because it's like, oh, this is only exactly what it needed, not a word more, like not a something more. And I'm just like, isn't that like reading a fucking treatment? Isn't that boring?
Yeah.
Like, why
save the cat?
Why do you not want a few, like, life is not like that. Conversation isn't like that. Nothing is actually like that. It's not. So I think I'm always impressed when someone can do it. And still, you are still absorbed in what's going on, even though from a story narrative classroom standpoint, a teacher would be like, none of this is fucking necessary. Like none of it. Get rid of all of it. Like scrap the whole first issue. Start where the action or whatever starts.
Start on action.
Yeah. And this whole first issue though is like, but it establishes so much in a roundabout way too. Never directly, almost never directly in a single panel does it come out and like say anything about either of these two people. It's all between the lines. It's all something you have to read between their interactions with each other.
And I think thank you for that. I am very tired of the we open in media res.
Oh yeah.
Right.
How about we just fucking don't? How about make the boring shit good enough?
Absolutely.
Right.
Just
and make the boring shit meaningful enough. It's quote unquote boring, but it's not. It doesn't lack.
There's meaning in some of the boring shit. You just have to find the right boring shit.
I saw a film today. I'm doing this thing where I try to have like a balanced life. So I go and see one movie per week. I'm very bad at, I sleep 4.5 hours a day. Like, I'm not good at life. And I went and saw films. I never like shitting on media publicly because I'm like, everyone tried, but I won't identify it. But it's about a film about a beetle who's blue, and it was the worst thing I've ever seen. It was.
Of course it is. I mean, it's great.
I'm gonna say this. They state every theme of the film multiple times. Like, they just say it to each other. They're like, I guess my real power came from loving my... Like, no, actually, hang on. He actually says, remember when you said that my weakness was that I loved my family? It turns out my power came from loving my family.
Yeah. The edict is...
and you're like, you could have just told the story and we could have walked away with that.
To say the premise, show the premise, say the premise again. That's what it is. It's
the Steve Allen rule of comedy of like, tell the audience what you're going to do, do it, and then tell them that it's been done. Like, just you know, there are, you know, that fucking tired ass bit of like, there's a big fight going on, cut to someone wearing headphones, not noticing it. This film does it twice. It does the same fucking tired gag twice. Right. Like, it feels like it's written by AI. Like, whoever wrote this script should be in jail.
I mean, it's a shame because I always love it when, if you're going to have a comic movie and you do some obscure side character, in this case, it was like a second gen obscure side character. Like, what the fuck? How does this exist? Right. But then... Right, but like, do something interesting with you're already doing a character that you have no right to spend $150 million on. Right. So do something fucking interesting.
I mean, I will say, like, the guy, you know, who I'm terrible with celebrity names. So the guy from Cobra Kai who plays Blue Beetle,
yeah.
Like, you know how in Cobra Kai he always just seems like he's out of breath. Yeah, it's worse than this. Like that, like, dude has sleep apnea while awake. I don't know what's going on.
Maybe his acting style.
Just stop it. Just like, I feel like I'm getting a creepy phone call from him with every line. Anyway, it's fine. I saw Last Voyage of the Demeter last week, and I forgot it within 4 minutes of seeing it. So I guess at least I had
yeah. I could tell from the trailer. I was like, okay, they showed the best bits of the trailer.
Well, okay, even in the trailer, they're desperately trying to hide what Dracula looks like.
Yeah.
I said on Twitter the other day that, like, we have perfectly good Dracula at home. I'm trying to enjoy movies. I want to see good movies.
Me too.
Like the second half of the Ninja Turtle movie. It's the 5th best of the 9 Ninja Turtle movies I've seen.
I will say they got the tone of that Turtles film right for the era. The tone of that film was spot on, which isn't necessarily a great thing, but the tone of that film was kind of the star of the show, for sure.
Yeah, I don't like the way that... I don't like what's happening to Splinter these days. I like Splinter's always been
sad, right?
I like him as a wise mentor. I like him as my big super crush. I
was about to go there.
Obviously,
yes.
No shocker. I want to fuck Splinter. I want to be clear. I'm a bottom. I want Splinter to fuck me. Like, I don't want.
All right. Okay. All right. T-shirt.
When I was a kid, I saved up all my money so I could buy all 4 turtle toys, and then I bought Splinter just so that I could put the turtles in a wheelbarrow and put them on the other side of the yard, and then Splinter and I could hang out and I could undress him. Totally normal.
Totally normal behavior.
I will say, like, I think people give the Michael Bay Turtles films a lot of shit.
The what?
The Michael Bay Turtle films?
The one live action one. It was only one.
There are 2.
But they did one. It was live action in between the 2 animated ones. Oh, there was a second one.
There's Out of the Shadows, the one that has the song, which I will never remember what the real words are, but I always remember it as flip flop. We're about to get shell shocked.
Why is this that?
So were they trying to like do a sequel like the second original Ninja Turtles with the Go Ninja Go?
I think
thing?
So.
Like, my God, what the fuck? So, I did not know this thing even existed.
Here's the thing about this
baffled here.
They rule. Okay, everyone gives them shit, but hear me out.
Okay,
you've seen the first one, right?
Okay.
Nope.
No.
Oh, okay. Well,
I didn't know either existed. So
I did know the first one existed,
and
but
I'm a huge Michael Bay fan, by the way.
Yeah, but I still never seen it to this day. But I'm hearing you out. Go for it.
Okay. By the way, side story. My friend Sam and I used to do this impression of what we thought Michael Bay would be like, and it was essentially like what if a 7-year-old had too much sugar, ran onto a film set, and so he's just licking a big lollipop and like, okay. So what if there's like a whole bunch of helicopters, and I just like come in and like, and I just and like, okay, cool, bye, do that. He runs away, and that describes every film, and then. Just after I moved to LA.
I think the fact that he personally chased off, like, what was the story in one of the Transformers movies that was filming in it was like a South American country, and they got held up at gunpoint to like give them their camera equipment. And Michael Bay physically chased them off the set. And it was just like,
I'm
energy.
Like, same energy.
That makes sense, actually. Yeah. Like that clocks with this guy.
So I'm at this thing. And I see that I'm fascinated by this guy, like this dude with weird posture. Everything about him is like a bit off, and I'm just kind of staring at him all night. And my friend comes over and he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I've become obsessed with this guy over here. I've been kind of following him all night because every single thing that he does, it's like he's doing an impression of the impression that my friend Sam and I used to do of Michael Bay. He's like, oh, that's Michael Bay's nephew. I'll introduce you." I was like, okay, cool. So my impression was accurate and it's genetic.
Right.
This dude, I ended up talking to him for like 10 minutes. The next day he messages me. He's like, hey, do you want to go to Roscoe's? I really feel like some chicken. I'm just excited. I'm like, all right. So I go to Roscoe's and he just like spends an hour telling me about how to like scam the system to get cheap hard drives. Tells me that he gets an allowance every month, but blows it by buying jewelry for people and then getting in, what was it called? The thing where you shared Ubers before the pandemic?
Oh, rideshare. Yeah.
But like I just get like a shared Uber and then like give these people like diamond necklaces and say I saw this and thought of you and then run away. So he never had any money, and then he tells me this amazing.
Ran away.
Yeah. He told me this amazing premise for his. He was like, if I ever get to write for SNL, I'm like, you're not going to. He's like, yeah, my whole thing is that if a serial killer had to do a carpool, and the joke is that he's always driving for people for different jobs, and then someone finally asks him what his job is, and he says he's a serial killer, and the person says that's not a job, and he says, and with that attitude, it never will be. I was like, actually, that rules. That fucking rules.
That is kind of funny.
But the Turtles movies, for the listeners, the first Michael Bay Turtle, the second one's a little bit of a mess. I'll give you that. Like the whole Technodrome coming together, crying of it all, whatever. That first one would be or could be a genuinely good film if it were 25 minutes longer. The whole problem with that film is that it's relying on the idea that you know and care about the Turtles before you get there. It's only for fans. If you had given April and Vernon and her roommate and all that weird shit extra time and like front loaded the film with that and introduced the Turtles later, it could have absolutely ruled. And instead you took shorthand and it sucked.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Blue Beetle takes longhand for everything, has a grandma who's good with a gun, and that's a joke that they repeat 900 times. And also, can we stop doing the thing where it's like, hey, this character's family are loud and annoying, it's lovable? Because it's not lovable. All it meant was that when a member of the family died, I was like, yeah, good. They're part of an annoying family.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen the Michael Bay Turtle films. Actually, you're the
to be fair, I do
person.
think Dallas just I don't think Michael Bay actually directed either of them, but he produced them.
I think I'm sure he directed those.
Wow.
I think
maybe how did I miss that?
I think he produced them, and I think the behind the scenes lore, kind of like when Steven Spielberg produces something, is that he's heavy-handed of a producer that all of their style comes through. But I think this is like Steven somebody who was like a protege of Bay,
right?
Directed all of this, but it was like a hand-picked protege, and Bay was very much all over it. But technically, I believe there's someone else who is the credited director.
Yeah, Michael Bay is the greatest movie maker of our generation. Emphasis on the movie.
Interesting. I mean, I would argue Jonathan Demme probably beats him, but
calm down.
No, you know what? like in terms of as Sean Connery put it in that weird Oscars opening, the movies.
Yes.
Yeah, he might actually win it.
Yes, absolutely. Pure movie popcorn. Blow me up, send me into outer space, give me a talking robot that is weirdly romantic. Yes, it's my
So Ray had never seen any Ninja Turtles anything before. And I'm talking about this film, and he pretty regularly, when I show him a film, he's like, "That was exhausting." He always describes films I like as exhausting. And I come out of there, I'm ready for him to say it, and I'm like, "What do you think of that?" And he goes,
"Exhausting."
No, I quite liked it. It was quite fun. Yeah, is that okay? Yeah, no, I think I really enjoyed that film. I was like, okay,
all right.
Who's your favorite turtle? And with full full confidence, he said, George.
You're like, huh, what film did you watch? What film were you dreaming of while we were in there? While you slept through the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But yeah, it's some guy named Jonathan Liebsman who directed it. He's a South African film director. Prior to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, he did the Wrath of the Titans movie. And the Battle Los Angeles movie. He directed both of those.
A bad film, but engaging.
I mean, it existed, certainly. I did. I
haven't seen any of these. I don't. Oh, you know what? Did I ever see Wrath of the Titans?
You probably did. It's forgettable.
I don't know.
It's up there with John Carter of Mars. It's.
I think it's one of those where I always forget. I'm like, did I just watch the trailer a bajillion times, but never actually watch the movie, or did I actually watch the movie and it was as memorable as a fucking trailer? I don't know.
Yeah. That is how I feel about the Gran Turismo movie. I feel like I've had to sit through it 4 times already because the trailer is interminable.
I've never seen a what's the series with Vin Diesel, the car series,
the Fast and or Furious.
Yeah, I've never seen any of those.
Not a one, not even back in the 90s when they fucking started.
No interest, none. Impressive. It's all just one thing to me.
I mean, starting with like 4 or 5, it becomes one thing. The early movies are all kind of weird going back to them. They had no fucking idea what they were doing. They like 1, 2, and 3. They like reinvent the wheel every single time, and they're just like, the first one was fine, but we can't get the stars again, so let's just do something totally different. That didn't work. For number 3, they're like, let's go to fucking Tokyo and like Japan, and like let's do it with a whole new cast and do something totally fucking different, totally different feel. By the time you get to 4, they finally got the original cast back, and then they start building the franchise and bringing even the people from 2 and 3 back, which were originally had nothing to do with fucking anything.
Unless those cars transform, I'm not interested.
Honestly, like, give it time. Like, they went to space last time. They'll do anything. Those movies rule, by the way.
They went to space?
I mean, they reached orbit.
Dark of the Moon, right?
Oh no! I thought he was talking about the Fast X.
Fast and the Furious. In number 10 or something like that.
The 9th or 10th one, they reach orbit in their cars.
Fucking A.
Insane.
Of course they do.
Rules. These movies rule. They're so good.
I am admittedly, I'm kind of waiting for them to just finish I haven't seen any past 7. I don't think at this point, mostly because I'm just like, there's 10 now. And 11 is so 10 was supposed to be the finale. Wow. Now it's part 1 of 2. And so there's an 11th one that's going to be the second part of the finale. But they do keep they keep saying they're going to end it and then stretching it. So I'm like, you finish and I will watch the whole franchise and see what I think when that day comes. But I've backed off until they let it end, because I feel like it really, really needs to end. Maybe I'm wrong. Are they just getting better as they go?
I mean, they're maybe not getting better, but I do think that like 5, 6, and 7 are fucking masterpieces.
I don't disagree. It's kind of why I'm excited. But I really want them to have a plan. I really want them. Vin Diesel keeps saying, he's like, oh, there's a plan. I've got a story. And then every time he releases a new one, he's like, there's one more. And I'm like, oh, come on, dude. I'm like, is there a plan?
I saw I haven't seen 10, but I saw the trailer, and like they're in a bowl this time. It's not even a car; it's a big ball. Like, it rules.
But they have to keep one-upping themselves, which is part of the fun. Is like, well, what are they going to do the next time? And they have to do something insane, a little bit like the Mission Impossibles with the stunts and things like that. Though I feel like the Mission Impossibles don't really one-up each other. They just sort of have to do something as interesting and good, yet different. And as long as they do that, it succeeds. So they're not really getting crazier. They're just keeping it even Stevens. But God, he's in his 60s. I'm like, dude, one more stunt and you've got to stop.
No, I want him out there until bones are falling off. Like, I want him out there. I want that Sean Connery effect where they have to prop him up. Like, yeah.
I want to see them like Irishman Tom Cruise.
There you go.
All right. Would you like to hear my wine pairing?
I would.
do.
All right. So I drank a full bottle of Bodacious Shiraz.
Yes.
And I'm just going to say what it is right up front. It is some cheap ass wine that was left at my house, because I really feel like this book is about like embracing the shittiness of what you find there. I think this is a book where the situation you find yourself in this, you will drink whatever is on hand. I think a red wine is the thing to do it with because it gives you a heavier sense of regret. But it also gives you that sense, like, you can drink a white wine very quickly. You can drink a red wine slowly and just let it sit. You know, you hold it, you swirl it. And the older it is and the more chance there is that there's some coffee grounds and cigarette butts in there, the longer you're going to let it sit. But you need it for the comfort. And I want this book to feel like that. I want this to sit heavy in people's hearts. I want it to bring them joy, but I want it to bring them just a little bit of pain, and I want them excited for more. So the term Bodacious Red or Bodacious Shiraz, the other, I had another bottle that was just called Bodacious Red, but Bodacious is such a fucking, like, it's that weird irony of like, hey, I'm 22.
Yeah.
What is like, wine's fancy? I'll buy this one. I've never seen this one in a store. It was left at my house. So I don't know if it's cheap wine or not. There was another bottle of it that was just called Bodacious Smooth White, which I have to assume was actually based around the dude from Gully, because we're
going to go with cheap wine.
So that is my recommendation. I can't tell you any fancy wine shit. I can just tell you that I drank a bottle.
Fantastic.
But I do agree. I like that you said that it's something you want. Like, this comic did remind me, and I'm assuming as long as someone's over the age of, I don't know, 18 or 20, you have in your life experience these kinds of conversations, like these shitty moments, these shitty conversations where you're like, it's necessary, you don't want to do it, but you remember it for the rest of your life. It's not an unforgettable conversation as much as it's not a pleasant memory. Yeah. So yeah, I think we all have that ability to connect. And by the way, Bodacious Red, it looks like it's around a $12 bottle of wine.
Yeah, I'm in Canada.
I would have expected less. I was hoping for less, but 12's not bad.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 10, 12. Yeah, for sure.
Look, Canada has such expensive alcohol. It's basically like being in New York, but boring. So this it would have been like a $30 here. Yeah. Yeah, it's
30 Canadian dollars, I'm assuming.
I mean, yeah, like not real dollars, but it's like, you know how like if you go, you can get like a 19 Crimes for $4.
Oh, yeah.
And like I love a 19. I love an augmented reality label on my wine. That's just what I need. And I can get drunk enough to talk at length about the problematic nature of putting Snoop Dogg on a bottle, but
I was gonna say, and Snoop Dogg on a fucking rosé. Come on.
I mean,
yeah, that's his brand now. His brand is very rosé now. He's like, he's like Ace with Martha Stewart. He's like the granddad of hip hop. He's just smoking pot and cooking now. He's not out like shooting and slapping people.
But I also love that he's fucking sober now.
I grew
sober
up with,
and
I grew up with Welcome to the Doghouse, so I know Snoop Dogg in a different way. Remember that with the girls wearing the dog ears?
Oh yeah.
Great film.
Masterpiece.
Masterpiece. The franchise really fell off around the 10th one.
Hey, Snoop, if you're out there, come on the show.
But you know, like a 19 Crimes here is a $25 bottle of wine.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
It's actually not too much. I mean, I think the price has gone up everywhere, because 19 Crimes here is probably like 18, 20. It's like
no, it's not. No. It's not.
No?
Like
No.
one, every Trader Joe's is a different 19 Crimes, so they keep cheap. So hit each different way. Like, you know, the Pinot Noir is $4 at the one in Hollywood, or it was 8 weeks ago.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
You can tell how much I drink it, because I have no idea how much it actually costs.
I like it because I like it as a wine that I can take to a friend's house, because they get excited by the augmented reality part and then don't do it, but they feel like I brought them a novelty, so they don't care that the wine is kind of shitty. And I'm like, hey, let's drink your good wine first, and then we'll go on to my wine. I make comics.
There you go.
You make movies and music. I make comics. Let's drink your good wine first.
Let's start with the good stuff. Fantastic.
And did you bring a book as well, Richard?
Yes. Here behind me,
Baba.
it's upside down. I brought this book. It's called Busy Little Bees. It's by Marielle Boulot. It is the first issue of a delightful little independent comic from Blue Fox Comics. It is a horror story about a mysterious night when an asteroid shower is hitting, and some people in a hospital are behaving in all kinds of weird, spooky ways. One person in particular who has a sort of out-of-body experience that links in with the music being played, and it is a very small story. I'm not going to pretend like this is a plot-heavy thing. This is a high-concept piece with a tiny amount of stuff happening and a lot of very beautiful language and very subtle art.
Okay.
So that is the thing I'm recommending to everyone. And the thing I am pairing with it is, because I'm from New Zealand, an Oyster Bay Sauvignon Blanc.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Now, again, this is largely because it is available near my house, but it is the kind of it's a light enough wine that you feel like you can drink a lot of it fast and have a good time quickly.
Yeah.
There you go.
So that's my rationale behind that.
Awesome.
In America, it'll cost you about $11. In Canada, about $28. 8 days and I'm back.
8 days and you're back. Cheap booze. Cheaper booze.
I bought a bottle of whiskey tonight for $67.
Jeez. To get you through the 8 days.
No, like it's not even a big, it's like a fucking, it's just a bottle of Jameson.
Oh, man.
Whew. Wow. And yeah, I think Americans do think our own liquor taxes and rules and all the fees that get cropped up are bad, but that's bad.
Yeah.
That's bad even by our standards. That's terrible. And I will say, Blue Fox, I do love them as a publisher. I had not heard of that one, so I need to check that out. But I will definitely, I'll definitely put a link for everyone to Blue Fox's stuff, because I'm subscribed to all their newsletters, Kickstarters, blah blah blah.
Marielle now has her own imprint with Blue Fox called Fox Red. That had it. I haven't read it yet. The first one just came out, or just the Kickstarter just finished for that new one. But the other Blue Fox comic that I talk about far too much, and I'm sorry, I cannot remember. I tried to find my copy of it, but I couldn't. So I don't know the name of the author or the artist, but the book is called Fishing Memories, and it's just a beautiful piece about dementia, and it'll make you cry and give you all the good feelings and make you terrified for getting old. But it's just an amazing comic. Also, Blue Fox do a great book called Shed by Richard Fairgray and Lucy Campagnola that everyone should read. It's really good atmospheric horror. Marjorie
Yokomizo is the and Miguel Perez for Fishing Memories, by the way.
Wonderful, wonderful story. It's actually the reason that I approached Blue Fox with Shed was because of how good Fishing Memories was. I was like, oh, I want a book with this publisher.
Okay, cool.
Oh, amazing.
Well, Richard, I have to tell you, you are You are a hoot. You are a hell of an artist. You are a mad human being, and
a hell of a writer too.
And a hell of a writer,
I'm gonna throw that out there
our
too.
kind of people, my friend. So one of these days in LA, we're gonna definitely have to get some FaceTime.
Yes. Once you're back, and Dallas too. He's been on the East Coast for months at this point, but he is also due for a return.
Why are you on the East Coast? No one likes it there.
Yeah, it's just the humidity, but the humidity does keep the skin nice and tight.
Okay, fair, but like LA has all those I was gonna do a joke about Wayfair kidnapping children, but I'm not going to, because last time I made a joke about that on the internet, a lot of people took it seriously. I bought so I think it's very funny that Spirit Halloween sells child-sized skeletons. That's so funny to me.
Sure.
So I bought 3 of them and put them with my 2 adult skeletons and did some family photos. And then I was like, wouldn't it be funny to put one in a cupboard and take a picture of it and say, I can't believe my Wayfair order got delayed by so long. And I posted it on twitter.com, and
that blew up, huh?
A handful of people were like, Richard, this is in poor taste. I was like, it is, but it's also funny, so fuck off. And then 3 different people were like, hey, where did you get this picture? We really need this as evidence, because it's a plastic it's a
wow.
Yeah, I know conspiracy theorists are stupid, but
right. I think gullible is the word you're looking for.
I don't know. I think stupid is the word.
I mean, stupid, but more it's there, and they're like, yes, this proves everything I believe in. It's real.
I worked with a woman who she believed every conspiracy theory, and this is 2010, 22, maybe even earlier. So it was before conspiracy theories were dangerous,
right.
Right. Pre-Pizzagate. Although I will say, if the Earth is really flat, how could there even be a basement in a pizza restaurant? Think about it. Anyway, she believed all of them. And I asked her once, I was like, what do you think about the moon landing? And she said, let me put it this way, Richard. If they did land on the moon, it wasn't on purpose.
Dun, dun, dun.
But then it would still be that we landed on the moon.
Right.
Where does she think they were going?
Right. And what different? I mean, even if it is hey, we did it, we can, and now that we've done it, we can do it again, even if it was an accident. I had a conversation with someone not too long ago at a wine bar, so I expected better, but he was sitting next to me, and I started talking to him, and he asked me the same. He's like, what do you think of the moon landing? And I was like, he's like, do you think they really did it? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, why? And he's like, you don't think they faked it? And I'm like, no, I think that sounds like work. I think that sounds like so much more effort than the government would. They're like, the government. And I'm like, yeah, no, see, scientists would put in the work. The government would not. Yeah. The government would not spend that much effort to fake a fucking moon landing. I mean, to what end? Why? They can barely get fucking Social Security and food stamps to work properly. I mean, they're not gonna fake a fucking moon landing. They just shrug their shoulders and be like, nah, Russians beat us to it. Oh well.
Yeah.
All right.
Or just lie. Sorry, cameras don't work on the moon. We did it. It's
right.
There's much easier ways.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, Richard, this has been a delight. I think at over 2 hours, we should probably.
This is our longest episode so far.
Keep this at about where it is, and I'll do a little special editing before we launch this tomorrow. But everyone, Ex-Wives of Frankenstein, the Kickstarter is live now. So if you like anything you heard, including the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles talk, the Blue Beetle talk, who fucking cares? Go check out Ex-Wives of Frankenstein, because it's better than all the other things we talked about in this episode.
Absolutely.
And Richard Fairgray, thank you so much for being on the show. This has been a delight. You have been a delight.
It really has.
You did not oversell yourself. You did not lie.
No.
I will say it's kickrichard.com is the easiest link to get to
kickrichard.com. Clever.
Was Kick Dick taken?
Oh, fucking hell. God. You know, I try not to live with regrets. God damn it.
You're welcome.
But yes, my publishing imprint
The
is
child
Richard
skulls
Sucks.
don't count.
Richard Sucks for all of my
Yes.
my nasty adult books.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for having me.
Which weirdly, this one is under the Richard Sucks label, which is interesting because
yeah.
I would say this could be a non-Richard Sucks, but I totally understand it. It's not exact. I mean, it's not for kids, so
it's not like I think there will be a lot of different things under Richard Sucks. I think at this point it's all books that are entirely done by me.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Like, you know, Shed is co-written with Lucy Campagnolo, and so that's under Blue Fox. And Four Color Heroes, everyone, I keep meaning to mention this. I did a book called Four Color Heroes, which is about two boys who fall in love through comic books. One of them is from a deeply religious background, isn't allowed to read them, so the other boy describes them to him, and throughout the story, we only ever see how the comics look in his imagination. The book fucking rules. It's from Fanbase Press. It's out now. And I keep forgetting to do publicity for it. It's 14 books this year.
Four Color Heroes. I will find a link to that. I will also post that there.
FourColorHeroes.com.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Shed from Blue Fox Comics, as mentioned before. I'll have Blue Fox down below as well. But all right, guys, thank you so much. This has been awesome.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank you.
Ciao. And I'm going to keep the recording going. I'm going to re-record the opening.
Let's do the opening.
Richard, you don't have to stick around. I'm just going to record the opening by myself. Dallas, you don't even have to stick around.
Before I go though, I do want to tell the Michael Bay Ninja Turtle story that I couldn't tell on mic.
Oh yes.
My friend Gary Anthony Williams was in the second film. He plays Bebop. Gary Anthony Williams is a black man. The year that film came out, it was a massive flop, and Spirit Halloween had produced a lot of Bebop masks, which they immediately put on clearance. So Gary and I would go to Halloween parties. He would go up to anyone wearing a Bebop mask, pull it off their face, and if they were white, he would start screaming at them about how it was blackface and confiscate it from them.
That sounds about right. That sounds about right. Yeah.
How did people take it? Were you?
Well, they lost their clearance masks, so they weren't too upset.
Their last minute pickup on the way to the party.
They're like, okay.
All right. Well, look, I'll let you guys go. This ruled. Thank you so much.
All right, Richard.
Thank you, Richard.
And
yeah, let us know when you're back in LA, and we'll have to do more. We'll actually have to meet in person one of these days. But enjoy your final days for now in Canada.
All right. See you guys.
All right.
Ciao.